Welcome to our podcast, Don't Give a Sip. I'm Jax.
And I'm Kaylin.
And today we have a special guest. We're super excited.
So we started this podcast because of our breakups and us wanting to go on our own self-healing journey. Mm-hmm. And, after, trying a few things ourselves, we got our feet wet in it. But today we have a special guest, and she has a PhD in psychology. She's a licensed counselor and a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. So
let's welcome her.
Yeah, please welcome Dr. Lucy Turek. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on this amazing podcast where we can talk about the human experience and just kind of get to know one another. So kind of a big part of what I'm hoping to do today is that we can feel free to be open and just kind of talk about our own experience.
Cool. Well, I'm a little scared. I think this is going to be helpful to everybody. So we're going to put our crap out on the line and hopefully it helps you.
And I promise you will remember everything, even with wine.
I hope so.
So I am a licensed counselor, mental health counselor in Florida. I'm also have a PhD in international psychology. So I've been able to study psychology all over the world. So I've been to Africa, I've been to the Philippines, I've been to Thailand, Jamaica.
Is it different all over the world, or do people generally think the same? Or
totally different.
There's so many cultural differences, I would assume.
Yes.
Interesting.
Well, also there's probably cultural differences even with your backgrounds and mine. Just even being
just how you were raised.
Well, you're Canadian, right?
Yeah.
There we go. International.
But I grew up all over the world too. So
yes. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Outside of that, I also was an officer in the Marine Corps. So that shaped a lot of my perspective on kind of how to overcome difficulty and empowering stuff for women.
America.
And freedom.
Canada likes it on top, though.
Yes,
Does Canada have a military?
It's very sad. They're too nice.
I'm do they? Okay.
Canada's too nice.
Oh, now we're communists, so.
Well,
yes,
just wait. Just wait.
Yes. We'll get into that in another episode.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to cover some of my background and then some life lessons from the military and things I've learned. And then I created it's called the 4 Pillars of Health, and it's based on all my experience, my research, and everything of what I found for people to be healthier and have mental health.
So I'm not familiar with the 4 Pillars of Health, so could you explain that for us, please?
Of course. The 4 Pillars of Health, and ideally you would go through these 4 pillars every single day. So that's something that I want you guys to think about because it's how you would structure your day in a way. Okay, so the first pillar of health they all start out with the same word, which is strategically.
Okay.
So strategically stress the body. So when I say strategically stress the body, what do you guys think of?
Working out.
Yes.
Oh my God.
My body's always under stress.
Getting me out of bed before 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yes,
That's
strategically.
That's stressful.
It is.
And then what would be the opposite of that? What would be a thing that people do all the time that does not strategically stress the body but stresses your body?
Being lazy.
Okay.
A nicer word would be couch potato.
Yeah, not moving.
Yeah.
That
actually
stressful.
makes you stressful. You don't realize it. I always feel better once I work out. So after a gym session, I could be in the worst mood, and as soon as I work out, I physically feel better, mentally and physically.
I think that was one of the first things we ever started to do together, after our breakups too. It was taking our power back, going to release everything at the gym. We started working out and clearing our minds, and that was.
I work out all the time because I have a lot of stress. Oh no, that's the only thing that saved me. Probably.
I was the couch potato, so.
So strategically putting your body under stress.
Right. So the first one, strategically stress the body. You guys are already with me on the same page that we have to work out every day. We have to exercise our bodies. For some people, if you're fit, then that would look like a serious weight workout. If you if you're overweight or obese and you don't really walk, strategically stressing the body would look like just getting up, going for a walk, maybe doing some stretching, doing something stretching is another example of that. Hot and cold. If you guys ever do hot baths or you do
plunging.
Cold plunging in any weight category, whatever your health is, those are things you can easily do that are strategic and stress your body to help your body improve itself. And the reason why that's the first thing I have that is actually it's one of the first things I do and when I plan my day is how am I gonna exercise or strategically stress my body. It's the first thing I plan. But also the way that our bodies function, which is something interesting, it's called the depletion replenishment cycle. So your entire body is made of cells. So that when you get sick or have cancer, you have bad cells,
Right.
that overtake and then you
Right.
die, right? Unfortunately.
Mutating, or that's the aging process with the free radicals and all that stuff.
Yes, exactly. So the way that our cells are at homeostasis, or like doing their best, is when they're either depleting, so strategically stressing the body, when they're being used, or when they're replenishing. So if you're just sitting on the couch all day, your cells are not functioning optimally because you haven't depleted them. So if you're just overeating, you're just replenishing, you're not depleting.
Right. Okay.
Right? So that's like kind of
a good balance.
that's like the actual science of like your cells, how your cells function best.
Okay.
Just so
Interesting.
I thought that was
interesting.
interesting.
This is
It
why
is
we work
interesting.
out, and then we can come home and drink wine.
Yeah, replenishing.
Like replenishing.
Or is it
at its finest?
Is it not strategically stressing? Sometimes wine is good for the heart, right? A
It
glass
is.
or two of wine.
Yeah, glass or two, not a bottle or two.
I read a story though saying that was all crap. And so the people that can actually work out, this isn't like scientific study, but it was just something I read. It was a news study. I don't know who wrote it, so I can't cite it, but I thought it was interesting because they said that the people who normally work out, they can afford, the wine. They're already in a different place. They're already in a healthier bracket. So it's
skewed the data.
Skewed data, exactly. Because
All data is always skewed, so just
your heart seems to perform better because
Yes.
you're also working out all the time. So
so they only picked the sample size of people that were working out.
right. So because other people,
The other
first of all, let me make this clear. I am broke as crap, and I still drink wine. So I'm not talking crap on anybody.
We're not quite at the box wine yet, though. We're okay.
you guys can do wine promotions, but that's a side note. Okay.
We do.
Okay.
You do? Okay.
Back
What
to
wine?
the third pillar.
No, second pillar.
Oh.
So strategically stress the body. 2nd is strategically de-stress the body. So like, what does that look like? It's
A massage,
a massage.
hot bath.
We already talked
Hot
about
bath
that.
could be either or.
Oh, okay.
Right? So sleep. Do you guys go to sleep on time? Do you guys have like a
No.
sleep schedule?
No.
Do you guys
We
have a
terrible
wake up
at
sleep
that.
schedule?
We're terrible at
I
that.
try because the kids have school, but
Right.
then I'm forced into it, and then I'm miserable.
Yes. Okay. So like
And then I'm joined along on the ride, so I'm miserable too.
yeah. So like most like endocrinologists, like whatever doctors, anti-aging doctors and stuff, they'll tell you that like sleep is one of the most important things you can do to
it
like
is.
de-stress your body.
It is.
But sometimes stretching really helps. Like I know like for me also going on walks, those things help de-stress the body.
I think just breathing.
Breathing.
We talked about this before.
Yes.
Just like really taking it down to basics, just breathing. And whether that's whatever type of meditation you want to do, it doesn't matter. It's just really
There's all
slowing
these-
your body down and breathing.
Yeah, studies on breath work are coming out now, and it's an ancient tool that they've used throughout history, but now it's kind of making a comeback right now.
Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes like also like just like hugging someone you love. All the different
That does make me happy.
dopamine, everything that gets
Puppies.
released. Puppies,
Oxytocin.
animals. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so those are the first two. So like those are mandatory for like every single day.
Okay.
And then the third one, this is kind of where like the mental health stuff comes in. So the third one is that you strategically bring awareness to the stresses on the mind. So that's kind of what we're going to like be talking about a lot today too, is like we're going to be bringing awareness into like how different things have affected us and caused us stress over time and how we've handled it. Either we handle it good or we handle it bad. We don't want to be like evaluating it that way, but we just want to say, hey, like this is like what I did in response to my life.
Well,
Like
you
this is how I
learn
react.
either way. So whether it's a good reaction or a bad reaction, if you can be self-aware and think about it, you can. It's like, okay, well, this was the experience. It's not that it was bad or good because I learned something from it.
Yeah, as long
But
as
you
you're
have to
learning
be
and
really
growing from it.
self-aware,
then-
and that's really hard for people to admit. Is their shortcomings or their, role in not the best reactions.
Yes, or even like how you get into relationships or any of these things. Like being aware. Like I'm sure if we were to talk about your exes, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I'm sure like their level of awareness
I know you're watching.
is lower. They're not aware of all the things that you're aware of, or they're not aware of like how they're hurting themselves,
Right.
how they're like taking away from like a beautiful
Yeah.
opportunity to like have a healthy relationship with somebody that they love. They're not aware of like what they're doing and how it's causing problems.
I know, and then I feel bad for them, and then that part of me is sad.
Well, I think
I
this
do
is-
feel bad.
I think this is
it
where we
sad.
all can relate. Like we're all empaths here, and maybe that's a little bit why you got into this kind of work. I'm guessing
Yes, for
you
sure.
had some situations and some traumas. And
Well, I want to hear the last pillar.
yes,
She's so right. You guys are so pushing me ahead. I love it. Okay. The last one is strategically de-stressing the mind. Right? And so sometimes like the fourth one happens through like your own therapy work. It comes through like just the process of like going to the gym, then relaxing at the after the day, eating well, replenishing your body, sleeping, like having talks, becoming aware of like things you're doing wrong or whatever, then from there, that process of de-stressing occurs almost naturally, but you can really work at it. You can really work at doing the things and talking like every day about your emotions, talking about things you need to do that's going to make your life better. If you're planning that and doing that every single day, your wellness will come
like a
come
journal.
easier.
Because I want to say, like, I used to like de-stress my mind through food because it was
It's not strategic.
procrastination. Like, you know what I mean? Or I didn't have to deal with it because I'm eating, so then I don't have to think about it.
But it's not strategic, right?
No, it's
That's-
not. It's
so
horrible.
it's-
No, it's numbing it. It's
Numbing
numbing it. You're not thinking.
I just wanted to bring it up because I know
you know,
a lot of
I would go out. I think we all did this when we would go through a breakup and we'd go out and like, I'm just gonna get so shit faced I don't remember anything, because you numb it for a few hours and then the next morning you still gotta deal with it.
Yes.
You know?
You can't, like, it gives you that, like, break
Temporary.
almost. You just don't have
It's
to
a
deal with it.
temporary break.
that's going into like substance abuse. But I wanted to bring up the food thing because that's something that.
That's
I
what that's,
struggle
that's,
with
that's
it.
That's a
open.
type of abuse, though.
And I think a lot of people, I mean, look
Food
at
abuse
look
is
at
abuse.
America. I mean,
60
we're programmed to just eat.
65% of people are overweight or obese in America now. And it's probably even higher since I did research on that, like, for the last 4 years. But
Yeah.
it's just,
I'm sure.
overeating or comfort eating or eating
I
the wrong
think anything
foods.
in excess, you know, whether it's eating, drinking, doesn't matter. It's all the same.
It's just like a perpetual cycle because then you overeat and then you gain weight and then you're unhappy about yourself. You're actually doing more of a disservice.
So those are my 4 pillars
So
of
let's
health.
just real quick, what are they? 4 pillars of health.
Strategically stress the body.
Mm-hmm.
Strategically de-stress the body.
Yeah.
Strategically bring awareness to stress on the mind. And strategically de-stress the mind. And if you do that on a daily basis, you know, that takes a lot of it's like self-care, a lot of work, a lot of like focusing on what matters to you, all that stuff. You're gonna be doing what's right for your
Well,
wellness.
it puts more stability into your structure. You're more stable because you're aware. Like, okay, you're making a conscious decision and effort to say, okay, this is what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you it can give you direction in
Right.
your day. It can give you like a way
Like
to
plan.
Yeah.
So I think we're both really curious about how you got into this field. I mean, I'm assuming that you've been through some traumas like we have, and you're an empath like we are, and that's why we're doing this, because we want to help people, and you're here to help people. So
Okay, so this career path has kind of been obviously a long journey, you know, in my life. So I'm like trying to break it down in my head to think about, okay, like what led to what to what to what. Because nothing's ever linear, right? Like you may think you want to do something when you're little and it never actually kind of pans out that way. But when I was
trying to grow up,
yes, but I think that like when I was little, I don't even think I had like in my head exactly what I wanted to be. But I know that when I went to college, so I went to University of South Carolina, and there's a lot of like military influence there. There's like a lot of like people that are like, you know, old South, like very disciplined, like the college shirts, like the girls wear their fancy clothes, like when they
People
go
actually
out.
took pride in. You know, I miss that.
Yes.
I miss that. I want to be the Southern Belle. I want to dress up. I want to clean the freaking house and take care of the kids. I'd be happy.
Yeah. There's a lot of like Southern
For the most
pride.
part. But, you
For the
know,
most
you
part.
get what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So like going to college, I knew that when I
feminism ruined our lives.
Stop.
Yeah, we can talk about that too. We'll get there. So let me just quickly answer this. So I went to college, and then I knew that after college I wanted to do like give back. So I originally wanted to join the Peace Corps, but the paperwork was like really a lot.
That's why you didn't do it? Because of that reason?
It was really bad paperwork.
All right, Peace Corps, you need to ease up on the paperwork because you missed out on some legit stuff here.
And I actually went to Israel, and I remember like when I was in Israel, we had like a female guard, and she was so badass. She had like this beautiful long curly hair, like past her butt, just like insanely long. And she was walking around like carrying like an M16, and she was like guarding us. And at a certain point, we went to a cemetery, and they were lowering people into the graves. These were like other young soldiers from Israel that were dead.
Wow.
And I remember being like, wow, I want to be as cool as these people. Like they're just like they just had like a discipline. They had like an authenticity. They had just like a demeanor. They were so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not Israeli at all.
Okay.
But I'm an American. Like I am an American. I'm like multiple generations American.
Okay.
So I want to be like them.
Translate it.
Translate it into like what I can do.
Right.
And I was thinking to myself, I was like, whatever like a female officer would have in the military, like whatever like I guess courage that they would have or whatever heart they would have, like there's no one that has more than that than I have. Yeah. So I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what got me into like joining the Marines. And then another part of that I think is interesting is like going to like upbringing and background.
Yeah.
Is
what made you? Is that what made you join the Marines? Was seeing the girl with the big gun and
right? So that was like part of it. But then there's like I guess like another part would be like kind of growing up too. Like I was like a privileged young person, and I feel like I could have taken a route like going to law school, and like I feel like it would have been almost like handed to me, just because I was like. I feel like I didn't have to work too hard for it because I was able to make connections and things like that already.
Right.
And so I was like, I want to do something that like no one has done, and like my family doesn't do it. No one's done it. And, like I'm doing my own path.
Well, and you had a deeper purpose, I think.
Yeah. And then the third part, which you'll identify with very much so, is that when I was 19 years old, my dad died in a plane crash. So.
What?
Yes, he was a private pilot. We had like a 6-seater airplane, and it wasn't our plane, but he
was he flying someone else?
He was
like
flying the plane.
Oh my god.
Yes. So it was like him and like four people, crashed. And I was a freshman in college.
No way.
Yes.
My dad died when I was 5, and it was our house burned down. So it was very traumatic. It was very sudden. There wasn't any warning.
Right.
But it's like I always say, like I was 5 years old, and a lot of times you don't have the memories, So it's like I'm so glad it didn't happen then. Like. Because you already, you're 19.
You developed a relationship.
You're
with
19 or something that's like at 5, I don't remember a lot. So it's like if it had to happen, I'm really glad it happened then.
I would never know what's harder because I haven't experienced losing a family member. Yeah. I lost my boyfriend, the love of my life, when I was 27.
Yeah.
And that was really traumatic, but I don't know what it's like to live without a parent. I've been fortunate to have both my parents
loss
in my
is
life,
loss, but it's like I didn't know what I was missing.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's actually a really good point because I did know what I was missing.
That's what I'm saying.
And so
that's hard.
Right. And so joining I know
so you're looking for that.
Yes. So I was looking for that. And it leads into like kind of just me describing like my values and those things, which I learned from my mom and dad and like growing up, which was like one of them is like strength and like being strong and courageous. And so like I actually ended up being stationed at the Marine Corps Air Station with all the pilots. So that's interesting.
That is interesting.
Right? And that wasn't even like my job.
The universe.
Right. Put me with all the pilots.
So then you get to see like, kind of the day-to-day or like what, he might have been doing or how he operated.
Well, yeah, I actually was, when I was like little, I learned how to fly with him. So I was like a little girl, and I'd go to the airport, and he would bring me in the airplane, and I would go flying with him when he was learning how to fly.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'd like sit in those teeny little airplanes like for many, many, many hours flying, and it was very loud.
Yeah, I learned on a Cirrus. It's like a little better than a Cessna, like a little one step up.
Oh my gosh, you can fly?
I didn't go very far, but I took some lessons.
We've talked about doing it.
How cool is she?
Taking some lessons. I had Thanksgiving dinner in the control tower in San Luis Obispo. My friend was working. He ran the control tower, and I felt so bad. And he was all there by himself, and I had made all this extra food. And so my friend Lamont and we went, and I packed up all the stuff, and we had Thanksgiving dinner in the control tower.
That's so cool.
That was kind of cool. But anyways,
I can see you totally with as a pilot, like with your all the stuff on the equipment, like everything.
It's like our headphones.
Yes, your head's the same thing.
We took those off today for this, but
you didn't have one for me. But yeah, so like also I could make my dad proud of me, and I could also have like positive male like interaction. Right, because I didn't get to have like my dad's energy, so I was able to kind of like recreate that like in a way where I was being like respected and I was like pushing myself in a way that was going to benefit me. But then after that, like learning from the Marines, et cetera, I wanted to do counseling and I wanted to like do psychology because I always just wanted to understand how people think, why they do what they do, and I like really care about people, and I wanted to like know like. I don't like when you guys are talking about like people that have hurt you or what. I always want to understand like, well, what's the reason that they did that? Like, why are they hurting you? Like, why do we get in these relationships?
Isn't it funny that we go into that?
Because I psychoanalyze everybody. I don't have the credentials, but I'm so good at just knowing because I've been through everything that all those things relate to some extent and just offer. I can pull out the stories because I can at least make them feel comfortable enough because I've been through probably most of what the fucked up shit that can happen to you, excuse my language. Like, you know what I mean though? I have some relatability in some way that I can adapt in the situation.
I feel like I was just like you too because I've never known what I wanted to be ever. And then my first undergrad was I did my 4-year degree in criminal justice, and I took psychology because, again, I was sexually abused for most of my life. So I wanted to get into, like, you know, homicide, and, like, I wanted to, like,
figure stuff out.
Figure these things.
I wanted to catch the bad
I wanted
guy.
to work with the psychos. Like, I wanted to be, like, in the prison.
I feel you
with,
still
like,
can. It's not too late.
I looked up counseling. I thought, I have my 4-year degree. I'm going to go into counseling maybe 2 more years. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope, it's like another 7.
Here we are, though. Here we are, just telling our stories instead.
Yes.
Healing others, healing ourselves. So this is just as good.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
It's not, well, it's helpful.
Yeah.
That's why we have her here.
And then, like, on the more like formal side, so like one thing I learned too when I was like doing counseling, like I was doing like an internship at like Loyola University, and we were learning about like how do people determine like what they want to do with their life, right? So you kind of, the way to do that is you, with the student or whatnot, is you analyze like their values, their interests, and their skills.
Okay.
Right? And so a lot of times we don't take the time out of our day, or we don't take the time out to really like look at ourselves and to figure that out.
I've said that. We're in such a fast-paced consumer mentality, consumer lifestyle. There's no processing time. You aren't processing the experiences that you're thrown into every day. And if you could have that's why meditation is so important. Like, if you could just sit and process what's actually happening.
Well, and I think too, from a young age, like in high school, they're already throwing at you like those tests, like what do you want to be when you grow up, and you go apply. You got to apply for university starting at like 16 years old.
In Canada.
Right, and I didn't have a clue. I was one of those people that was like, I'm going to be a doctor, and I became a doctor. My dad was a doctor. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to be. So for me, that was really hard to throw that at you.
If you don't
so
know
young.
what you want to be yet. I'm 35. I still have no clue. So.
But we can talk about what your values are.
Yes. Okay, let's do
Yeah.
that.
Right?
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
your interests and skills. Like, 'cause then that, from there we can create, because you guys are creators. Right? Okay, so for me, like, my values that I was like just kind of just threw out there, I start off with strength, because what I believe is that to be strong, you have to actually overcome obstacles. Like, how can I say I'm strong if I can't like overcome anything?
Yeah.
You're only as strong as like what's been presented to you that you can overcome. So that's like one of my big values is strength, and I actually see beauty in strength. And so when I look for relationships and people that like I see as strong, and I also want to empower and like create strength in others too. And I think that's like beautiful. I think strength and beauty like are like one.
Yeah,
weirdly.
that makes sense.
And then love is like a value of mine, because I want to always come from a place of love, especially when I'm like working with people, because that usually ends up resolving a lot of like negativity and frustration, like with yourself and others, as if we come from a place of love versus anger
And
or despair.
compassion, and just like people just want to be heard, or just know that they're not screwing up royally.
Yes,
Right?
because
Like,
then
you
that's
just
not
need
love.
that support, like, so.
Yes, and then I have, I guess I did perseverance, which is, I guess, really strength in action, and then I did freedom. Because we live in Florida, but also, like, we live in America.
DeSantis.
You're always on these episodes.
I love
We
you.
live in America, and we're, like, based on freedom. And, like, if you don't have freedom, if you don't have the opportunity, like, we're women, and we're talking, and we're together. Like, in many other cultures, we wouldn't have the opportunity to do that. Like, we wouldn't be free.
Yeah.
So freedom is everything. If you're enslaved, if you're not able to talk about things openly, if you're not able to express yourself, if you have no autonomy in your own life, like, you're not free. And so, like, I want you to free your mind. I want you to free the way you, like, anything that's constraining you or, like, getting in your way.
What do you think about people who aren't, like, I just saw something it was on social media, but it was this woman from North Korea, and she was saying, we don't even have a word for depression in the dictionary, because if you don't know that you're depressed, or you aren't having, do you know what I'm saying?
That's okay. So what you're talking about is actually something I wanted to talk about. So I'm excited
cool.
because one thing one thing in psychology that like helps you to heal, because we're talking about that, and like to see the world from a place of love, like we're talking about as well, is called priming. So like when you have negative priming, that would be like the words like if I showed you a sheet of paper that said like depression, sadness, like obesity, like hatred, that would be priming. You'd probably feel crappy just looking at that sheet of paper. But if I gave you a sheet of paper that said love, like you're attractive, you're amazing, like you're cared about, you'd feel better. So there's like millions of studies that show you can prime people to like feel better or feel worse. Right. So like having certain words, and even focusing on negative words, even like toxic, or focusing on negative words like narcissism, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But if we
and I know
focus
you
on
don't like the word
Right.
toxic.
Well, I guess that goes back to like even when you're starting your day, if you're like, oh, everything's going wrong, yeah, this is wrong, I didn't do this, I forgot this, then your whole day's gonna be messed
My
up.
mom would always say, don't
Yes.
call your sister stupid because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is.
And I remember being in 3rd
You
grade.
start thinking you're
I got in
stupid.
so much trouble for calling my sister stupid because they believe it.
Yeah, you're
Whatever
priming
you-
her to be
Yeah.
stupid.
Exactly. No,
It's
and-
super psychological,
Sorry,
so
Corinne.
big. Yes, and like so that's why it's like so important that we think about like when we talk about mental health and as we get more into stuff that we start to look at things like we want to identify like the obstacles as I consider that are in our way, the negative things, the hard stuff, of course, but we want to see them as obstacles that we can overcome.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of these things I think that happen in day-to-day life are such little minuscule things in the broad spectrum of things, and we like take it way out of proportion. Like we go crazy over like this ruined my whole day, and it's like really
Yes.
like you can't find the shirt you were gonna wear today, like that ruined your day. And I did this it was a few months ago. I flew home to Canada and I had a photo shoot, and I was telling Kaylin about it. Like I was losing my shit because all my stuff's in boxes. I sold my house, I can't find anything, and there was a specific look I wanted for the shoot, and I'm like losing it. And everything was going wrong. I hit this pole with my truck. I like forgot to take out the garbage, left it on the kitchen sink. I'm like, my mom's gonna kill me. And I drove back and I was like, you know what? And it goes back to breath. And I just like sat on the steps for a few minutes and I just breathed and I was like, okay, it's out of your control. You can't find that shirt. Big deal. Find another shirt. You know, and my whole day changed around and just by doing that. So it's been like a mental note to myself to just like let things go you can't change, and certain things you can change by your mindset.
So you strategically de-stress your mind, right?
I did.
Exactly.
I used your pillar.
Health.
That deserves a
I think that's
that
Pillar
deserves a
of
sip.
wellness.
right.
Cheers.
Now you're gonna notice that in your head. You're gonna be like, I'm doing the right thing.
We're waiting
think
for
of
your
you- I'll
book
think of
to
you,
come
Dr.
out,
Lucy.
Dr. Lucy.
Okay, let's start writing it together. Okay. So that's values. We did that. Now I said skills are next. So one thing that I think I can also help people with, and we don't have to go too into this today, but one of them is like having and setting healthy boundaries. So a skill of mine, and I may have learned this in the Marines, I may have learned it before from my dad, but I'm very good at setting healthy boundaries, especially with men. Good at it. And also the second thing is like
Well, we can really learn a lot from
Yeah,
you.
what would
We
you
can get
say to
word-
people who don't have any boundaries?
we need to talk
We'll get
about
into that later. Okay, we'll go
Strategically.
No, we definitely do because we didn't, and that's now we're learning those things.
Yes. And we can be honest about it, and I love that. And then the second skill I have is like, I wrote being about it, which I think is funny, but what I mean is like, I don't just like say something that I don't do. Right? So like I don't just like tell you to do this and that if I don't do it myself. I haven't experienced it myself and I don't act on and like try super hard all the time to do it.
Right.
So it's like I speak from like my soul almost.
Yeah. No,
No, I
I
get
always say
that.
like I don't have a lot of money, but like my word is
Yes.
like literally all I have. So if I say I'm gonna do something, like I will kill myself trying to make it happen because it's like my form of currency is
Yeah.
like my word.
And I think because I've been let
Great.
down so many times too that it's like a big deal to me when people don't pull through on what they say they're gonna do because I've always been let down. Like I
Well,
had an
and that's why
ex-boyfriend that would
you
always
do
tell
it.
me I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get a job, and I was supporting him, and it's like those things never happen, and so it's like that. It's like betrayal in a
Being
way.
about it.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes you don't want to talk about it, you want to be about it, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So lip
Actions
service.
speak louder than words.
So no lip service. So one way of setting healthy boundaries that we can do all with men going forward once we stand up
Yeah.
would be like we don't listen to lip service, which means we don't listen to what you say. We watch what you do. We
Yeah.
know so you only judge somebody based on what they do, and that takes time.
Yeah, because a lot of people are in denial or they want it so bad that they overlook those.
But you want to believe what they say, right? But we have to watch what they do instead.
Yeah.
Right from
Okay,
the start.
good point. Yeah.
So that's one.
It's
one
that
key.
simple. It's that simple.
Well,
Watch the actions,
Yeah.
not the crap.
yeah.
And there's a lot of this going on every day.
Yes, and then then interests. So I think that like an important part of your interest, like what you're interested in doing, should also usually aligns with your needs. So like for me, I'm interested in like having healthy and like strong relationships with people, but it also relates to my need to like have like intimate and close connections with people because I feel like that's so important and I need that. But I also am interested in that because we're interested in what we ultimately need. And I also like to motivate people. I'm interested in like
made
motivating.
me have like such an epiphany.
Go on. That's what this is all about. That's the whole point.
But does it make you think of the love languages? That's what it makes me think of that book. Is it Gary Chapman?
Little deeper. It's not even.
Is that what it is?
It's even more simple than that. It's like with the other guy, and it's like it goes back to basic security. Like I want to grow my own food. I don't because I need to be stable and secure. And so one of my interests is doing all this stuff for myself. I say I'm going to go move on a compound. I'm going to grow my own food because then I'm in control of my own safety and my own security and my own well-being. So it's interesting.
Well, it makes me think of that book, though, Gary Chapman, because he talks about the love languages, and he says in order to have a successful, healthy, loving relationship, you have to understand someone's needs in their love language. And if you can fulfill their love language and they can fulfill yours, then ultimately it's a match. The relationship will work out.
Well, an interesting thing, too, on that is, how people always say, treat the other person how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
It's you want to treat them how they need to be treated.
Exactly.
Not even what they want.
Yeah.
It's how they need to be treated. So so you have to really kind of learn about a person before you can figure out what they need.
Right.
Unless they're,
because I think we do that in relationships. I'll do everything that I think I want, but they're sitting there telling me, no, this is what I want. But I'm like, but I'm showing you my love, but my love is based on what I need.
Yes.
It takes a self-less love.
Having a lot of
being so
epiphanies here.
selfish with
She's good.
Yes,
She's
good.
pulling it out of us.
It's so good.
We're healing.
Yes.
Today we're healing.
Freaking hired. I'm good.
Okay, good. That's what I'm
If
hoping.
anybody would like to donate,
We can start a charity right now.
Exactly.
Mental health. for
Go fund
everyone.
me.
Yes, everyone needs this, right?
Go fund my broken heart.
Yes. Okay, so I wanted to tell a little story that my mom, that my mom was involved in. So I remember when I was joining the Marines or whatever, one of the main things that people would say to me would be, "Oh yeah, I wanted to join the Marines." Right? Everyone says that.
I've said that.
Okay.
I've said that. I was the Air Force because it was a little easier than the Marines.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry. I know. I shouldn't say that, but a great Air Force. But you know what I'm talking about.
It is.
I thought, going to education, but no, there's a lot of different reasons why. Yes, I would like to do that. I see the path. I would like that path, but just in my time in my life, it just wasn't feasible. Just because I wanted to do it didn't mean it was gonna happen.
It's a great perspective. That's awesome. I didn't even think about that because when my mom said that to me, I told that to my mom and I was like, well, Mom, I'm just going to tell everyone you can.
Right.
Because you can do it.
You can.
Right.
You can.
And my mom's like, no, they can't.
Right.
And I was like, and she's like, Lucy, you don't understand. You have something, you have a commitment, you have something different than a lot of people are willing to admit to themselves, or they're not really able to go
You'd have
to do
to
it.
give up your family, or if I wanted kids.
Yes.
How can I do that if I'm in boot camp? It's just even though I wanted to do it.
Right, and some people have they're not physically fit enough, or some people just they mentally can't. They can't commit to it.
I always thought in boot camp because they start yelling at you, and I'm a little baby. If some dude starts yelling in my face, I'm waterworks. I'm crying, and then you get yelled at more because you're crying.
Yeah,
and they break you down.
Yes.
So I think it was maybe a little fear of that too.
Well, of course, there's so much fear. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a whole world you have no idea what you're getting into.
Right.
And so for me, I always thought to myself,
tell us what we're getting into.
Yeah, so I thought to myself, well, how could I get people? And this is stems into who I am. It's how could I get people to say I can and mean it?
Right.
And it's well, the first thing you have to do is identify what are those obstacles or perceived obstacles that are preventing you from doing it. Because if you really want to do it, you know what? I'm still sticking on it. You can.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of perceived obstacles that you need some guidance and support kind of go through to realize, hey, wait, maybe I can overcome that obstacle.
Right.
Wait, maybe I can get through this, this, and this. And so I could do it. But most of us kind of stop I can't. And we do that with so many things in our life.
We give up so soon.
With
so
so many things.
Without trying ever. Without any effort.
Well, a lot of people don't have this support too. Even just our relationship breakups, thank God I had her because she understood it. You need someone who genuinely understands and that or at least that you trust their opinion to move through it.
I mean, I know I did 7 years of schooling.
Wow.
And I know 5 of those, I knew it's not what I wanted to do. but it was like, I don't know what else I'm going to do, so I'm just going to
Well, then
finish
you're already
it.
in.
I was just going to
College
finish
is a scam, everybody.
I was just going to finish it, you know, and I was like, I'm not
Unless
going to
you
give
don't.
up. I'm just going to do it. So it was like a mindset thing. I'm just going to finish it because I don't know what else I'm doing.
Good job committing. I'm proud of that. I mean,
Right,
I'm like
you know?
personally like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a lot of 7 years is not short.
No, it's not. It's not. But, you know, I just didn't want to quit. So I was like, I'm going
Right.
to go through with it, right? And that's where people are different. Some people will just quit and be like, I'm done. I'm not even going to try. And I was like, I'm going to try. And if I find along the way that there's something else I want to do, I can move into that instead of just
Yeah.
quitting altogether and getting out of school. But it was expensive.
Yeah, but I
Sorry,
think
parents.
that's cool that you I mean, education's good. I mean, you learn something, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
even learn like
Yeah.
not to give up, which is like going to translate in so many other areas of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then like in the Marines, they teach you like an excuse is a reason why you do or do not do something, right? So like anytime you give an excuse, you're just explaining why you did or did not do something,
Right.
right? And so it's like it's okay to explain that. In fact, I actually think it's better if you really honestly try to understand like why did you do that? You like why did you continue school, right? Like you're explaining that you continued school because you wanted
It
to.
just shows your
I think
personality.
it was a couple things. I think part of it was I continued because that's the person I am. I'm not a quitter. I want to prove myself. And then a part of
Yeah.
it was also like I felt like a failure to my family. You know, my parents paid for my first.
So pressure.
Yeah, I think part of it was that. Like, what are they going to think of
Financial
me if
pressure.
I like quit and then I'm not doing anything with my life? And
Right.
it was a mix of things. But I think mostly it was to myself. Like, I'm just not a quitter.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean that's good. I mean I'm still proud of you
Well, thank you.
for not being a quitter.
Here we are.
Right, you're not quitting now.
And here we are.
Yeah. So how do we like overcome these obstacles about ourselves? Like how do like you're not a quitter, so like you're awesome. But like like when we do have these things in our path, like how do we get through them, and how do we even realize that we're like letting ourselves down because have these obstacles that we're just not overcoming or that we're not even facing in our
Okay.
lives?
And how do you start that process of like, not self-actualization, but awareness? Like, how do you start that? Like, what are the questions that you're saying to yourself?
So like one other thing too that we were like talking about too is like that many people like there's a stigma with like mental health or with therapy that you have to have like a disorder or like you have to like be a bipolar disorder or have this something going on that's like makes you go to therapy. But like the truth is it's actually like the opposite. It's like if you want to better yourself, if you want to like actually understand yourself and you understand the way you think and like how you operate, like going to therapy or engaging in these kind of talks or like really like trying to address these things is going to make you like a better, more rounded, successful individual.
I think we're moving towards that direction. I think like our parents, like the generation before us, like I'm 35, we're 35. I think the generation before us, it was like super taboo. Like, oh, if you go see a shrink, you're crazy. Like, you know what I mean? And we've slowly have been moving away from that. Like, now it's trendy to go get help.
I hope
Which
it
is
is.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
No, it is.
No, it's great. That's probably the only thing that the culture that I see now.
Well, it's like
It's only progression.
that is a progression, but there's still like I still get worried when people are going because they think that they have to like be fixed or they feel like that they're like they're very flawed.
Right.
But it's like no, I work with some people that are like some of the most amazing people I could ever look up to that are like professional athletes or they're famous in some way or they've like invented something like just done amazing things.
The ones that are vulnerable enough to admit that that it's okay to get help because I think we all need it no matter what. And you don't have to go to a therapist, I think, to get it, but whatever it is, talking to a friend, opening up about things that have happened to you, that's just growth in itself.
I wouldn't even think of it as looking at as getting help. It's like looking at,
well, it's growth.
growing,
That's
past
exactly
your
what
whatever
it is.
personal milestone you set for yourself. Like, for yourself. Everybody is so concerned with social media and like, look what they're doing, look what they're doing, look what they're doing. And it's like, this is all bull crap.
Yeah, do it all for yourself first.
It is.
So
That's the authentic way.
what do you guys think are your values?
Family.
Mm-hmm.
Always wanted a good, solid family with kids.
And you have a beautiful.
I do, and I love every minute of it. It's hard, but I'm very happy, with that. I mean,
difficulties. Yeah, of
co-parenting,
course.
stuff like that. Yeah, but it's like when I'm with my kids, I'm happy.
And there's a lot of people that can't have kids or don't have kids, right?
Yeah,
So like, there's a lot to be grateful.
I'm very grateful. Honesty, because I'm super honest. Like I found some guys. I was in the Orlando airport, just laying on the road. Thought it was a joke because there's just this wad of money, like open wallet, and I found it Found the guy's license. Couldn't find him on Facebook. So I spent $20 or whatever for whitepages.com. Paid it so I could get in contact with him. He messages me back and he's like, oh my God, I'm going to Russia right now. And I so I drove it back, and I'm like, I would hope someone would do that for me because I know how hard I work for my stuff,
That's awesome.
And no, it was nice. It made me feel good too, So.
It's like being like a conscious citizen almost.
Yeah, but,
right?
Yeah, just be a good, normal person.
Right,
Not
but like
normal. I say normal
put yourself
loosely.
in those shoes, If that happened to you, how would you want someone to, return the favor? That's how I think about it.
Yeah.
that's a good mindset to have.
Honesty, trustworthiness,
Trustworthy.
family structure, which I realized, as you grow, I found, I don't know.
We'll talk about that next
Talk about it next time.
We'll get into that next time.
But yeah, so family is a huge one for me. And honesty.
Yeah.
And love.
Love, family.
And discipline, because I like to work out and I try hard.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, our lifestyle is a little crazy.
Yeah. So, what about your lifestyle is a value of yours, right? Because we don't want to have to hide parts of ourselves or condemn ourselves either. We want to be proud of who we are. So, when you say lifestyle's crazy, why do you say that?
We're just invited to so many cool things, and we are, I think, for us, we get to go. We are very lucky, and we do get to do the coolest.
Right.
I think people
of the
see this
coolest
other
stuff.
side of us that's there are these party girls, and it's yeah, we do. We party. We have so much fun because we love life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're always invited to these things, like she said. But then there's this side of us that we want to stay home. We love being home, and we love just
But when you get
we
the
want that
opportunity,
person and that
stability.
relationship and that family and that
Right.
stability. We love that.
But you also like to have fun.
We are
Right.
both people.
Exactly.
And
Do you think it's playfulness? Because I think a lot of times when people get older or get in relationships, they almost lose their sense of playful fun.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I feel
No,
it's maybe
definitely.
it could be looked at negatively, but we're gonna always prime it to
And
positively.
maybe part of it is because I had to
Playfulness,
grow up so fast because of sexual abuse. I did have to grow up so fast, so maybe now it's that is just me taking back my childness, my playfulness. I want to go out and have fun, and I don't care what anyone thinks. And it's I still have structure in my life. My life isn't a gong show, I do have structure. I hold a job. I make my own money. Everything's put together, but I like to go out and do whatever I want to do
Well,
too.
it's blowing
Yeah.
And
out
I don't want to be
steam.
judged for it. I don't want some guy
But
telling
I
me you
think
can't do this or you can't do that.
yeah.
That's not going to work for me.
But in relationships, it's contradictory in the culture that we live in because it's yeah, I do all this fun stuff, but I
Right.
also want the nice, normal family stuff. But it's and I've talked to people and they're well, you can't have both.
Why?
Why not?
Why
Right,
not?
exactly.
We just
Why
haven't.
not?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you're
we haven't met
it's
the right person, then.
communication. Yeah.
Well, it's
We let each other do whatever we want.
yeah. Well, it's if it comes from again, we want to always start with a place of really we're not gonna get into this all right now. But,
Yeah.
diving into what our values are and being true to who we really are. If you can go and have these fun parties and express yourselves and be free and playful and do that and creative and beauty, whatever it is.
Right.
If you can go do that and also live up to your own values, respecting yourself and respecting others and being being kind to people or whatever it is,
Right.
then that are your values, then you can have both.
Right, you can.
But
And
people-
it takes a secure person to see that because
And people misconstrue it because we are cute, whatever, we're cute. I think we're cute. And it's just people, I do. And I think
are.
people that they see it and they're oh, you're just sleeping with everybody or you're just a slut.
They condemn you.
Yeah, it's rude. And I'm you don't even know.
And that's
I'm
the thing,
actually the biggest dork, probably the birdie.
and we've been in solid, secure relationships where we were very loyal and we still go out and have our fun. And I mean, again, it takes a secure person to understand that we can be that person and still come home and be loyal wives or girlfriends or.
So how do you guys navigate being able to let people know when you go to these parties or whatever it is or let men know that you are actually a respectful woman? How do you let them know that while you're being free and everything else?
I mean,
Or do you find that
I
it's a
take
struggle?
them to the parties a lot of the time, but then even then, so then they're there, they see how fun it is, and then when they're not there, oh, I know what you're doing. I'm not doing anything. You've seen what happens, but they just get in their own head.
Yeah. So is
Or-
that challenging then? Is it hard to so
Well, it's just annoying, honestly. You were here. I felt comfortable enough to bring you here. We're having fun together. You
Yeah.
couldn't come. I'm still gonna go. You see what's happening.
I think it's to the point where I don't have time for someone who doesn't get that. I'm willing to sacrifice certain things for a relationship. You know, I understand there's a way to act, you know.
Right.
You know, you're not going to like not come home at night and go out for 2
Right.
days straight. There's a way to act in a relationship.
Respectful.
But I'm also not going to lose the person I am because I'm dating you. And I wouldn't expect a guy to stop going out on golf trips or going out with his buddies just because we're in a relationship. And I think if you're mature enough with yourself and there's a level of respect and loyalty and trust, you don't think about those things. I don't think, oh my God, what's he doing every 2 hours? Go out and have your fun, man. I want to have my fun.
Right.
Like, and then, you know, and
it's easier.
either you get
It's
to know me
easier
or you
said
don't,
than done. It's
you know?
It takes a while to get
and I shouldn't have to prove who I am to you. You should see it by my actions, right? So again, back to
because
fucking
I
actions.
love you so much, and you should see how much I do and try and work on the relationship.
What about if we were to like change our mindsets? It's like, okay, again, like a big part of like what I believe in and what I've seen to like to make yourself like stronger and better is like to reshape your mindset. So like, what if we're able to totally change our mindsets about like around the things that have hurt us the most? How do you think that would benefit you?
Yeah, and I think my last relationship, that one was one of the hardest on me just because I invested in myself so much. It was the first time that I went into a relationship going like, I'm not going to take all these past experiences that I've been through, trust issues, you know, because of the sexual abuse and the rape and the domestic, you know, relationship I had before that where he passed away. All the stuff I've been through, I'm like, I'm going to treat this as a clean slate. And I'm going to go into this. I really tried. I was like, I'm going to go into this relationship and whatever happens between the two of us, you know, that's for us to deal with. But whatever happened in my past is my past and he doesn't deserve me to treat him any differently because of what I've been through. So I really went into it wholeheartedly and really loved him or loved the idea of who I thought he was. And I think the biggest thing for me was initially the anger. Like now that I see it differently now, but initially I was angry. I was angry at myself for betraying myself, for getting into this relationship. And I was angry because it all seemed like the whole relationship was a lie. Because he was a narcissist and everything really, at the end when I came out of that, that's what broke me so much was like, oh my God, like this last year was just like an entire lie. Everything about it. But then as I've, you know, months have gone by and I've really self-reflected and, you know, we've had each other, we've gone and worked out. I've just trained my mindset differently. I've also seen, of course, you know, the other girls come from where I came from because, of course, he did the same thing to them. The girls he was cheating on me with, he did the same thing to them as he did to me. And I realized...
Go figure.
Right. And she messaged me actually a few weeks ago. And she was like, I just want to tell you were right. Out of the blue. She blocked me everything because he had told her I was crazy. And then she was like, you were right.
We set up with the other 5 girls he was cheating on you. You didn't get it then.
But, you know, all I wanted to say to her then was like, you know what? I'm not going to tell you I was right or not because everyone needs to learn in their own time. And it's not right for me to say, yes, I told you so.
Right.
And so I was like...
People can tell you all day long. You're not going to get it until you have to go through it.
You need
have
to go
feel
through
that
it.
personal devastation.
You need to go through it to grow, to learn. And that's where I learned. I was like, you know, these are his demons. And he's going to keep living in this hamster wheel over and over, the same cycle of despair. And I'm out of this fucking cage.
He's already
now.
done it.
I'm out of the cage.
It's been a few months.
And I'm moving on.
And
I'm
look,
living.
he's still going around.
Yeah, and I'm living. And that's the difference is that my trauma with him was short term because I see it now and I can heal from it. His trauma is for the rest of his life because I don't think someone like that is ever going to get out of it.
I don't know. Can they get
I think
help?
at 46 years old, chances are when you've been doing this for years with multiple women and yourself to yourself, I don't know. You're the professional.
What does it take for someone of that magnitude to actually... Because we've been to therapy. I've been to marriage counseling. And it's like they never... They never say the right thing, or you know, like they never tell the truth. Like it's always always calculated to make you look bad.
He would always say, "Jax, I got to do the work. We got to do the work." And he would tell me he's always going to these therapists for help. And I'm like, "But if you're lying to yourself, then how is anyone else going to help you? You're lying to yourself." And I would try to go with him just to be like, "Okay, let's go." And then the finger would get pointed at me, like
they know deep down. That's why they're so hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know.
So
it's denial. Really afterwards I came out of this relationship and I was like, ultimately I still hate you for the things you did to me because robbing me and cheating on me and breaking my nose and all the things that you did was horrible. But we both decided like we just feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Like that's a really sad life to live if the rest of your life is living like that in this hamster wheel.
Right.
It's really sad.
It is sad.
And I think like
and that's where I'm at now where I'm healed because I've healed and I I get now that it wasn't you, it wasn't me. That's their story. They got to deal with that.
So how are you going to make sure that you don't get in a relationship like that again?
I think because now I see it. Like, I just see it, and I've learned self-worth. I've learned boundaries now from it, and I think it's an everyday work. I mean, I think you do this for the rest of your life. You're working on these things.
Survival mode. You're
But
never gonna.
I hit so low, and we both came out of this, and I'm like, we see it. Like, we love ourselves now. We see, how much we put into those relationships, and how loyal and loving we were in both of our relationships.
Yeah, and it was.
And someone deserves to, to get what we give back.
You deserve that, right?
Well, we do, and someone else does too. That
Yeah.
and that's not the person for us. That's not.
And so, like, with red flags, like those things, like when in the future and like kind of going forward, we need to like make sure that like if there are any like red flags, or if there is any like abusive behavior, that like that's when you even no matter how painful it is, it's like, I'm not going to tolerate that in my relationships with you, even though I love you, whatever. It's like when you cross that line, if that line gets crossed, like that's when
You have to.
And I think that was our final attempt. Like, we had to hit rock bottom for us to start this and figure out who we were, because I know, and I told her, and she knows this too. I mean, we call it painting the red flags pink. We did another episode on it. It's a fairy tale effect, where we saw the signs. We saw a lot of little things early on, but we just ignored him because I fell in love with the idea of who I thought he was. Because the first 3 months, it was like this very, charming, amazing person. Which
Your mind goes to where it's
anything that's too good to be true is too good to be true.
So anything that's too good to be true is too good to be true. And then there's like another one, that's like on the tip of my tongue, which kind of goes along with the idea like easy come, easy go.
Okay.
That's a really, really good one. So like that's like a big reason why I think that it's really good to like start to develop and like build like healthy relationships with people over time, where you like just see what they are and who they are. They show you who they are. They don't tell you.
Yeah, you can hide crazy for a year, okay, but after that, that's what it was for me. It was at the year mark, and then I mean, but the signs were there, but it wasn't until I think like that year stretch.
I think we just have that hope, I think we've been through so much. We have that hope because we're good people, and we have that hope that they're just going to respond and be just like us. And that's where you sugarcoat things. It's where you paint the red flags pink. You do. And you see little things.
Because you want it so bad.
You want it so bad. You want it to work out so bad. And I think with me, the love of my life died, and it was just like, it'd been 8 years, and it was like the first really serious relationship I got into where I was like, I'm going to marry this guy, and we're going to have kids. And I wanted it so bad, and everyone around me loved him, and then it's like, then everything started to show, and I was like, God, I'm such a fool.
That's the narcissist.
I'm not,
in him.
but I'm not.
It's the narcissist in him. He makes everybody love him.
Yeah.
He's so fun. Even the night before he broke your nose, he was sitting there with who I was with, and we were planning our night at Halloween.
Yeah.
And, we're going to go out, but he had full intentions of going out with another woman. Like, and I believed him. You know what I'm like? This guy is a
they're deceptive to like
manipulative piece of crap. I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
So like if we were to reframe even this, what we just said, how would we like look at, I guess, our own like contribution to like these relationships? Like how could we look at like how like I know you're saying
I play?
What role did I play? And like how do we then like, okay, so there's a little thing in the Marines too they teach you, which is like when the person's yelling at you, whatever, in the Marines, blah blah blah. Like you're in the Marines, they'll be yelling at you, or whatever. It like what they want to teach you is like you just let's say you did something. No, let's say you did something like really good, right?
Okay.
And then they start to scream and yell at you, and they're like, "You're terrible, you're horrible, you're the worst." Inside, you're gonna be super mad.
You don't take it personally,
and you're gonna be like, "No, I did amazing." But what they're training you to do is say, "No, sir, I'll do better next time." So even if you tried your best, you have to then part of what you want to do is just be like, you know what, I can always improve.
Isn't that interesting though? Because like the Marines are a good example, because look at the world today. Like back in the day, I mean, just the inventiveness, the effort you put into stuff, like what we talked about, people giving up so much easier now. Like the Marines are a huge, like, yeah, that was good, but
then how do we look
keep
back
going?
How do we look back at these relationships and say, what could I have improved on this one? Like, because I sat there afterwards and I was like, well, I sat there afterwards and
let's give everybody the shortcut.
Right. I was dissecting the relationship. I was like, where was I in my life when I allowed this person in? Like, what was I feeling? Like, what was my life looking like? Like, I sat there and started thinking, like, I thought I was happy. I thought things were going good. But then as I dove more into it, I'm like, okay, I was in this country by myself. I felt really lonely. You know, I wasn't in my career where I wanted to be, like, so I was more vulnerable. So then I let someone like this in, and then, you know, I was so wanting that relationship and that love and that, you know, so is that what I did? Was I sold myself short in a way and kind of put my boundaries down and my self-worth down to allow this to happen?
Yeah, and like a good like tool that going forward is like that we want to all like be like utilize often is assertiveness. So like, and I know that like you guys, we were talking a little bit about this like before. You're like, well, how do I like go out with people or hang out, and like if someone asks me for my number,
Right.
how do I just be like, no, I'm not interested in giving my number because
We are
of-
so bad for this.
Right, so this is like a big one, and I love this one.
Yeah,
so like
it
being assertive is like just being like super honest and direct. So just being like, hey, like I love you, or whatever. Let's say like the relationship, like I love you a lot, but I'm noticing that like you've been like, you know, messaging some other woman or doing something, and I either need you to tell me the truth, or like I can't be in a relationship with you even though I've invested whatever much time.
Right.
I have to be assertive and direct, say I'm noticing this, and if you give me like a lie or whatever, then I have to distance myself from you. That's just, I'm just telling you how it is.
I think we're bad though, like when we're not even in relationships.
setting
Like
the rules.
we
Yeah,
were talking
on
about
your
this
terms.
last night, how we're like, sometimes I can say like, no, sorry, I'm in a relationship, or I'm just not looking for anyone. I'm not going to give out my number. But there's so many times that her and I
It's not assertive though.
do give out a number because we feel bad.
That's not being assertive.
I know.
So like, how could we be assertive in this situation?
But
Like,
I don't
truthfully.
want to be
Just
like,
be honest with yourself.
See what I feel like.
So I'm a
part-
guy that you're not interested in. Hey,
I
can I have
gotta
your
be
number?
honest with
I
myself that I'm not
associate what
interested.
you're saying with becoming jaded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is how I'm associating it. Like I know in my day to day life. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be the girl who's just like, okay, bye. Like, don't want your number. I do want to say that a lot of times, but I don't want to be the rude, jaded.
Exactly.
No, you
bitch.
can be nice though. You can be nice and
Okay,
honest.
so what would I say?
That's where we
Because
struggle.
we get probably 20 dudes a night.
Okay, so
Yeah,
let's set the
seriously.
stage. Where are we? Give me an
We're
example.
Downtown,
Something that's real.
Downtown St. Pete, Janice Live. We're all cute, dressed up to the nines because we're at a concert. We want to have fun. We're going out.
Yeah, love
And-
Janice Live.
And it's
Yeah.
not even out.
Love
Like,
concerts.
I know.
It's not even out. We've been at grocery stores. I was going up to my hotel room the one night, and a guy stopped me in the elevator. Like, it can be anywhere, and then we're like, we're so nice, and then we like, oh, like we know right away. We're not.
Well,
we don't
I
have
think
any.
it's because we like the attention.
Yay, okay, beautiful, honest piece. We like the attention.
I do,
Great.
I get
There's
it.
nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Yeah.
It could be like it's a confidence thing. It's
It
positive.
makes
Like
you feel good, but it's like at the same time you know what it takes to talk to someone. Like
I think we like the
I know what
attention,
it
but I know
takes
right away
to
when
go
someone comes
up
up
to
to me
a
that I'm
guy.
not interested. So I don't really.
I know what it takes to
care
go up
for
to a
that
guy
attention.
though when
That-
I'm nervous.
you want
That's- there's
respect.
a difference.
You want respect, right? You want to be like you want it to be appreciated, but you also want to be respected. So like the way that we have to maneuver the situation is we have to like talk to a person with the respect that we want to receive, right? So if we're in an elevator and someone says, "Hey, my number," you can just laugh. You can be like, you know, this is like an inappropriate place to give you my number. I've never met you,
Right.
Like it's just a fact. That's nothing mean.
Right.
And it's not like a pose. It's like
I'm not walking to your hotel room.
right, like
and it's a them
no.
problem if they get mad at you for it.
Right, and then if like let's say you're at a concert, and, like people are friendly at concerts, right? You know,
Yeah.
like we're having fun,
Yeah.
and just be like, I'm here to have a good time at the concert. You know, like we're not here to like
Right.
give my phone
To
number
meet
out right now.
someone.
I'm not here to meet somebody,
Right.
And we have to like practice.
It
this
sounds
more.
so easy.
No, we
and
have
then
to
we're
practice
put
it.
on the spot, and we're like,
Right.
I know.
there you go.
No, we have to be more
Call me.
assertive.
But
Can we
I'll
do?
never answer.
But
I
I'll
got-
never answer.
We agreed.
But then
Yes, sir.
sometimes I do because
Hold
I'm
on.
too nice.
Wait, just so
God.
I can show y'all something.
Boundaries. It's a big thing.
319 unanswered text messages.
Yes.
I'll give you my number, but I'll never answer.
Right. So we want to be
Okay.
so you
Can
guys
we
can be
change
assertive.
this,
Without
Dr. Lucy?
Yes. Okay. So we're at a concert, and we'll role play. Hey, can I get your number? My name's Bob.
We're gonna
Yeah,
start
you're
taking
so
our.
hot.
We're gonna start taking our therapist out with
You're
us.
so hot. I've taken people out before.
Oh my god,
Yes, I
I love
have.
that. See,
I
okay.
have because I care about people, and we'll
Do
go
you
out.
do-
Where were you
Online.
a year ago before I met my ex? I would have saved myself lots of money and trauma.
Do you
Excuse
do
me, sir, you're no
online
good.
stuff? Like
Bye.
You're a piece
I'm
of
sure,
shit. Goodbye.
I'm sure there's people watching. Do you do online? Do you
Yeah,
have
yeah. I
online?
mean, yeah, I do in
Or
person.
sessions and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, so
We're lucky. I live like right down the street.
yeah, talk to drlucy.com.
Talk to Dr. Lucy.
We're gonna link everything at the end of the video
Yeah.
for everyone.
and if
but
you have any questions,
All your info.
like comment on it, and we will relay.
Sometimes, like, even with clients, I'll give people my email.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not.
You want to be accessible, but it's like you might be busy.
Yeah, so you can always be like, hey, like, I give my email out to people. Like, if you really want my email, I probably won't check it, but that's it. Because I'm also here to have fun in the experience.
I love that. My doctor gives me her Instagram. She DMs me. It's amazing. What other doctor DMs you in this world?
Someone who doesn't want to deal with you.
I love it. I love it.
I'm just kidding.
That is so cool. I'll write her like, I don't know, I have this weird bite. She'll diagnose it. Here you go. This is the meds you need. I love that. That is a doctor that's not taking it as a job. She just loves and wants to help people.
That's different.
I think that's how we all are. That's why you give out your email. It's like, I want to help people, genuinely.
With boundaries.
With some boundaries, yes. We're learning those.
So I wanted to kind of end off with like this kind of sweet little analogy that I have, like based again on mindset.
Okay.
So, and it's the idea of like how we can like have the mindset of bettering ourselves and versus like with a competitive spirit. So like I know I think probably all of us have a competitive spirit, and like that's like a good I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's healthy, a level of competitiveness,
Yeah, and I think that I think a lot of times people can get like, you know, it can turn negative if you're, you know, you're competitive can either be really good for you or it can be negative.
There's a fine line.
Right. But it's like also really good to have a competitive spirit. So if you have it out there, here's like a way to like keep it in check. So I have good examples. So there's like I have a friend of mine who's a bodybuilder, and you know when you do bodybuilding, every time you go up on stage, you know each year you're supposed to get better and better. But you can also there's some people out there that are trying. There's a guy that's better than them or whatever. They're trying to compete against that person. But my friend,
image.
Right. But my friend, when he really, like just recently posted, and he's like, I'm competing against this guy. This is who I'm going to take down this year. And it was a picture of himself from last year.
Oh.
So like my heart melted,
That's
and
cute.
I was like, right. It's like that's who he's taking down. That's who he's gonna like.
Right.
That's who he's competing against.
No one else matters.
That's exactly
You should. Yeah, I
Your
want to be
power
better.
is that
and
you
I'm
are
only
you
gonna
and
be
no one
better
else.
if I'm better than I was yesterday. That's those little incremental growths.
Yeah, your power is that you're you and no one else can be that. So that is your power.
Yes, and non-comparing to others. And then like the example that is like a negative example, which I'm sure a lot of us who knew back in the day was like the Nancy Kerrigan situation. Where the ice skater, one ice skater, Tanya Harding, she was jealous of the other skater, and that was her competition. So instead of like focusing on herself and being the best ice skater that she is,
could be.
Right? She like hired somebody to physically sabotage the other ice skater.
But is that really winning?
Right.
It's not. Go against yourself.
So like
you won against a chick with a broken leg. Good job.
Yeah. So
like cool. Like means nothing. Like means nothing.
No.
Yeah,
Interesting analogy.
Yeah. So just like going off with like again like that mindset would be.
I think that's realizing there's jealousy out there, and that's where people only hurt you because they're hurting themselves, and that's a big thing. And I had to realize too, just out of all the trauma we've been through, is just like hurt people hurt others.
Yeah, I was not surprised whatsoever to like hear the Nancy Kerrigan. No, hear the what was the other person who did it?
Tanya Harding.
To hear the Tanya Harding story, and to she has a very difficult, sad upbringing, and it was not shocking to me to hear. Okay, well that's a contributing reason to why she.
You can see why she did it. She had something to prove. She was trying so hard. Like, and that goes back to us feeling. You just have to have compassion for everybody, even in the like worst scenarios, because you're right. They're hurting. Yeah. Like they have something.
They're hurting so much they have to sabotage you because they don't have what you have. But they could have it. But they could have it.
Bringing it back to what you said.
It's
a
healing.
jealousy thing.
Yeah. Insecurity.
Yeah. But I really appreciate you guys bringing me on this podcast today.
Oh my gosh. I wasn't like, I was like somewhat prepared to like go in, but I was like, oh no, she really pulled out some stuff that I was like, this isn't going to be on camera, but it is. So thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, and everyone just out there, like, please, any questions you have, we will link all her info below. Also, comment on our page here as well for any questions or anything you want to hear in another episode. Subscribe, and as we always finish off, remember that this is your life, so write your story, live your dream, and she doesn't give a sip.
I don't.
I have no sips to give, literally.
She's out of coffee.
I'll sip for her.